Welcome to the Metaphysical Manifesting Podcast with intuitive lightworker, national speaker, metaphysical teacher, and best-selling author Lisa Kessler. What is it you want to manifest? Are you looking to increase your income, change careers? Maybe you want to manifest a new home or a new car. Are you ready to bring love into your life? You have come to the right place.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here today. I want to talk about manifesting a new beginning. And this sounds romantic, I guess, from movies and books where you start on your quest if you read a lot of fantasy. But the reality of a new beginning is often really scary. And even though we want it, we might yearn for a new beginning, there are reasons that we stay comfortable. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I have walked beside and helped women manifest new beginnings, from getting out of a relationship or a divorce, or getting into a new job, or moving to a new state. I had one client who went back to college, all kinds of new beginnings, right? But none of them were something that happened overnight. It takes a while. And sometimes that's why I start working with these people, because they know what they want, but it can be difficult to actually take that leap of faith, right? And I have been there. I am super stubborn. I stayed with my first marriage too long. I stayed in my family business too long. I am always very tenacious, and I just think, oh, I can make this work, right? Maybe it's that Leo energy in me. But trusting the pivot to blaze a new trail forward can be really scary. And yet, it can be the best thing of your whole life. I can tell you, all the women that I just mentioned, of the things they manifested, are so much happier now, right? Manifesting new homes, things like that, where they're moving to a new area. And so it's worth it in the end, but it is not a thing that usually comes with fireworks. It doesn't come with just erasing your calendar. We have an erasable calendar on the fridge. You can't just erase that and go, there, clean slate, right? The part that's hard is letting go. It's trusting yourself when the path ahead isn't fully lit, when you're not quite sure where you're going to end up. And that is about having the courage to choose a new direction. And I'm trying to describe like that feeling when you know it's time to pivot, but like me, you don't want to. You're so stubborn and you just know you can make all these plates spin at the same time. I don't have to give up anything. But it is a feeling. And for me, sometimes it comes from pulling tarot cards, and I keep getting the same card over and over again, or an oracle card. I keep getting the letting it go card and things like that. And it's basically this little restlessness inside, and it can be subtle at first. It's like a little nudge from the universe that says, this doesn't quite fit me anymore. Right? Nothing may be wrong. And in fact, you might be very successful by all outward, measures that you have. You may look like you've got it all going on. But inside, your soul might feel just a little bit cramped. And that feeling isn't about failure. It's about evolving to something new, right? Manifesting is not a straight line. It really does mimic maybe the seasons of the year, like nature. Sometimes we're building and pushing through, and we're excited, like spring. And then in summer and fall, we're really reaping the harvest of all of the seeds we planted in spring. And then sometimes it becomes winter, and we need to clear that field so that we can plant something new. So if you're listening and you've been feeling this little nudge that won't go away, or maybe your intuition keeps tapping you on the shoulder with those cards like I was talking about of, let it go. Maybe the dream that you once really loved, it just isn't aligned with you anymore. And for me, sometimes I stick with things too long because I feel like if I pivot, I'll have failed. That was certainly how I felt about my marriage. I came from a divorced parents, divorced family, and I never wanted to do that to my kids. So I stuck with it way too long. And, I was like physically ill, but I just didn't want to fail. To me, it felt like a failure. And maybe part of that was being afraid to start over, because this is the hard part. When you pivot to something new, when you decide I need a whole new start, it can feel like you are admitting that you failed. But I think, you invest so much time. Maybe you're worried about what other people will think. Maybe you're worried about what if I'm making the wrong decision, or what if I start over and it's worse, right? But I want to offer you a new point of view to think about. Because when you choose something that aligns with who you are today over something that you're comfortable with, that isn't failure. That's actually like mastering manifesting, because you have to recognize it first before you can take action. And the way I reframed all of, the crossroads in my life was that none of that time that I invested was wasted. None of it was, because it all brought me more wisdom. I learned so much from every crossroad where I had to pivot. Every detour really strengthens your intuition so that hopefully you respond quicker next time, right? And every ending clears space for an expansion, for that new beginning that we've been talking about. So sometimes we cling to these old identities because it feels safer than the unknown. But your manifestations can't grow in a version of you that you've already outgrown, right? Again, it comes back to that feeling of, I want my life to be different, but I don't want anything to change, right? You can't have both. How can you expand if you are still living a life that's too small for you, right? So sometimes this new beginning is going to mean that you don't have a roadmap, which is also scary. I'm not going to lie. It is scary. And you might not see anyone around you who is doing what you're feeling called to do. My client who went back to college is not in an age group where a lot of people go back to college. So it is that feeling of, what am I doing? No one else is doing this. But the truth is, that's when you become the trailblazer, when you start showing everyone that you are never too old to go pursue that degree you've always wanted, right? And blazing a new trail, it doesn't mean bulldozing your way forward. It means just taking one aligned step at a time. You don't need to race up the whole staircase. Just take the next step, right? So here are some questions you can think about. What feels true for me now? That is always a really good one to journal about, because sometimes you'll surprise yourself, because when you're journaling, a little more truth comes out than what you have allowed yourself to speak. So be ready for what comes out. What feels true for me now? Another thing that you can journal about that can sometimes help you figure out what's in your way is what feels heavy, right? What do every time I think I have to do it, I kind of cringe. Or something that you used to be excited about doing, and now you would rather wash dishes than do that thing. That might be what feels heavy, right? It feels stagnant. It doesn't feel like you're growing. And once you get that alignment of what feels true now and what feels confining, then that new beginning isn't about forcing change. It's sort of responding to that inner truth that you just discovered, right? So if you want to consciously manifest a fresh start, a good way to do that is, first, you need to release without any judgment, only with gratitude, what you are going to remove so that you have room for this new beginning. So like for me, I had to finally come to grips that I was going to get divorced. And I had gratitude for all the lessons that I learned from that marriage, all the things that I learned about what I would accept in the future, how to better communicate my needs, and also how to recognize what is not acceptable. And I stopped making excuses for the other person, right? So these are lessons that I am grateful for. And that makes it a lot easier to say, I need to stop this. I've learned all I can learn, and now I need a new beginning, right? So that kind of is acknowledging what you learned, what it taught you. And then think about what is one small action that I can take within 24 hours that will support this pivot, this turning point, this crossroads, right? For instance, when I left the family business, I immediately started writing a new book. And oh my gosh, I was addicted to it. It wrote very fast because all of my energy was focused on this new path, this new beginning. And let's see. It was very scary. It didn't feel like a sure thing. Yes, I had already published some books, but the thought of writing full time was still terrifying. But all I did was start writing a book, and every day I wrote. Every day was a small step that supported this pivot in my life. It wasn't 10 steps. I didn't write, 2 books, 15 books. No, it was just one chapter every day. And I can tell you that by taking those small steps, I've already told you that book kind of wrote itself. That momentum built so much confidence. And then I sent it to my agent. She was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And she sold it really fast. And that confidence built my belief that I was going to be okay, that this new beginning of writing full time was going to work out. And that belief fuels your manifesting. Right? So don't feel like you have to change everything. One step every day. And then we need to really talk about the elephant in the room, which is being afraid. It's normal, totally normal. I don't know anyone who is being honest with you or themselves who isn't afraid when they change course, when they release something that used to be important to them. Of course, it is normal to be afraid. You can still be aligned with your new path, your new beginning, and still feel afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it, right? Despite the fear, you are taking more steps forward. That is courage. So when that unease and fear comes up, don't try to suppress it or hide from it. Try to get curious about it. When we move from this curious energy about why am I so afraid? You can write it down. Figure out, am I afraid of judgment, of what other people will say? Am I afraid of instability in my income? Am I afraid that I'm losing my identity? Keep in mind, when you pivot with a job, a lot of times we think of ourselves as that job, right? It's funny, when I went to Europe, my son was singing in Europe and we went with the tour. And it was so interesting when we were in Belgium. My mom was still here and we were talking to a woman who was weaving lace. And she said, I weave lace. And then my mom, we made window shades at the time. And my mom said, oh, I make window shades. And we are a textile mill. And she looked at us and then she said, isn't that funny? Americans tend to call themselves, I am a realtor, but actually you sell houses. You aren't that job. That job is something that you do. And when I thought about that, she really opened something for me that day, because I realized that I'm not an author, I write. And that was very freeing, because a lot of times we pigeonhole ourselves that you can only write this. I'm an author of paranormal fiction. Well, now I have a nonfiction book out, right? So sometimes it's really that fear of losing your identity. Who are you? So shine a light on it. Don't be afraid. Fear loses all its power when you name it. Think about when you were a kid and something scary was in the closet and you drug it out and you went, oh my gosh, it's my dirty clothes hamper, right? So really take time to figure out, what is it that's making me afraid? And keep in mind that you need to be gentle with yourself because this is normal. Breathe, journal, call in support. Maybe you have, a manifesting coach. That's our big job. But another thing you can do is journal it out. Talk to a friend who has been supporting you through this big change. You don't have to pivot alone. A lot of times that is where people stumble. So last thing is, when you are choosing your new course, you are actually co-creating with the universe. When you signal to the universe that I am changing my life, I trust there's more for me, I'm going in this direction. Just admitting that to yourself and the universe, it completely shifts your energetic field because it opens things up where your mind starts going, could I do that? Could I make this change? Right? I know that once I finally said the word divorce out loud, it took away so much of the stigma, I guess, for me, that I felt so much better. It really is about shifting your energetic field, and it begins with you making that statement. I trust there's more for me. Manifesting is not about clinging to your old dream just because you once claimed it. It was right for you then. It may not be right for you now. And staying in that conversation with your soul is so important because sometimes the most powerful manifestation can be not getting what you originally wanted, believe it or not, because we find a deeper version of ourselves and we realize, wait, this is who I want to be, right? So if you are listening now and you're standing at the edge of a new beginning, please hear this. You are not behind. You're not. It's never too late. Never. And you are not failing. You are learning. You learned so much from everything you're doing. By pivoting, you are not a failure and you're not giving up. You're evolving. You are also not lost, right? Even though your path may not be fully lit and you may not know exactly how you're going to get there, you are not lost. You are evolving. You're learning. You're growing. So just take that next aligned step. Trust that nudge you've been feeling. Honor the manifesting season you're in, right? Your new beginning is not a betrayal of your past self. It is a gift to your future self, right? And that, my friends, is manifesting at its highest level. So if you are manifesting a new beginning, I am sending you all the good vibes because you deserve it. Everyone deserves a brand new start because then you have all this passion because anything is possible. And that, my friends, is the real truth. You are infinite and anything is possible. But first, you have to be willing to make that pivot and step into a brand new beginning.
Thanks for listening to the Metaphysical Manifesting Podcast with Lisa Kessler. If you have questions or comments, or if you'd like to work with Lisa to manifest your dreams, you can connect with her through her website at metaphysicalmanifesting.net. That's also where you can claim your free weekly tarot reading and manifesting tips. Make sure you subscribe or follow the Metaphysical Manifesting Podcast on your favorite podcasting site so you never miss another episode. As Lisa likes to say, we can make magic when we bring the universe into the equation. Remember, you don't have to do it alone. If you'd like more information about Lisa, Metaphysical Manifestation Mentorship, or the Manifesting Magic Mastermind, visit her website at metaphysicalmanifesting.net.